Hey, so I've tried to record this now 3 times, but those two pesky boys of mine interfered. You don't even want to see the videos. All right, this is science. You need your hardback book. Well, you probably do want to see the videos, but no. The sun and its planets on D52. All right, our words today are solar system, planet, I could use my glasses, star, telescope, and lens. So the solar system is this big place that we live in, and every star in our galaxy, the Milky Way, has its own solar system. I'll let you think about that for a second. Now, it doesn't necessarily have planets that it pulls in, but it definitely pulls in like space junk, like asteroids and meteors, and whatever else is hanging out there. Planet, we live on Earth, which is the third planet in the distance from the sun. We have all sorts of other neighbors that we'll talk about. A star, our sun is a medium-sized star. It's a red star. Telescope is that thing that we look through, usually at night. I check it out all the time to look at the moon, my BFF. And scientists use the one in space called the Hubble Telescope. And it's actually a satellite that orbits Earth. And thanks to it, it was launched early in the 1990s. Thanks to it, we've been able to see all the other planets in a clearer picture. And then lens is like Lucy and I have. Glasses, they have a lens. So inside a telescope, it has pieces of glass that reflect the light, and they're called a lens. When you look at the night sky, you see many different objects. You can see the moon and the stars. You can also see some of Earth's neighbors, planets. What do you see when you look up at the night sky? I have seen Jupiter before and 4 of its moons here just when I was standing in the backyard with my regular eye, and then I got my telescope, and it was even cooler. You guys will have to come over and use the telescope too. But you can regularly see some of the other planets. You just don't realize that that's what you're looking at. So I really suggest you get the Sky View free or Light, I think, app. Or there's a $2 one that I talked about yesterday in my video. And when you hold it up with the phone, it'll show you, like, this planet is in this visible area, and you can hold the phone up ahead and down below, and you can see Saturn and where all the other planets are in their orbit around the sun. Not us, around the sun. All right. What is the solar system? I know you can read this on your own, so I'm going to let you read it on your own, but I want to just have a couple of talking points. I described you solar system. A planet is any kind of body that meets a certain requirements. It has its own orbit around its star, and it's a certain size. Sometimes they have moons. All right. There's a cute little saying to remember the order of the planets, but Pluto got demoted after this book was printed. This book is old, 2005. Yeah, and Pluto got demoted in 2006. So it is no longer a regular sized planet. It's considered a dwarf planet. That just means it's too little to meet the requirements. So Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and dwarf planet Pluto. My very excellent mother just served us 9 pizzas. That's what I memorized when I was a kid, to remember the first letter of each planet. But now you could just exchange it for nachos. So my very excellent mother just served us nachos. The sun is a star, and no, it's not shaped with the 5 points. That's just how we represent a star. It's just a big, hot, glowing ball of gas. The sun would actually float if you could find water big enough to put it in, and probably evaporate all the water pretty quick. Somebody's coming with a truck. The sun is huge compared to Earth, and your book talks about how many Earths would fit inside the sun. All right, this page is really cool. So this page has lots of pictures of the actual planets, and yesterday Drake was with my parents, and look what he made me. Isn't that the cutest? Isn't it? I'm totally putting it up in my classroom when we get back. All right, so Mercury is the closest to the sun. It kind of looks like our moon. Its year around the sun is longer than its day, so it turns pretty stinking slow. Venus is like always cloudy and tumultuous. Like it's always having a hurricane or it's always having a tornado. It's a very cloud-friendly place, and the clouds never stop. They just keep going and going and circling. It's really hard for us to see what the surface of Venus looks like because it has so many blankets. I'm sorry, my eyes are reflecting. Earth, you know all about Earth. That's where we stay. Mars is usually known as the red planet because it has full of iron rust. The top and the bottom are, though, like Earth, they're frozen. Jupiter is the biggest planet, and it has the most moons because it has the most gravity. It's got the most moons on its leash. Saturn, its gravity is pretty strong too. It's not much smaller than Jupiter when you account for the rings, but the body of the planet itself is smaller. So the rings are not solid. They're not like this table that you could walk on. They're actually just floating bits of ice and rock and meteors and asteroids, and they got pulled into the gravity of Saturn, and they just hang out there. And with a not very good telescope or a distant view, it's so many rocks and pieces of ice that it looks like a table or a flat surface, you know. Uranus is sideways. There's predictions of how it got its tilt, and it controls the orbit of Neptune. They're really close together, but in space they're not close together. I mean, they're really not, but they're considered closer together than some of the other planets, so they affect each other's orbit. So when I was a kid, Neptune was actually inside the orbit of Uranus, so the order of my very excellent mother just served us, well, 9 pizzas. We had to change it up, and it was kooky. I don't remember what it is. But they're correct now. You'll just have to remember that their orbits are not perfect. And then there's Pluto, and at the time this book was printed, we didn't know much about Pluto. And so it's not a very good picture, and then the next year we found out all sorts of stuff about it and told it goodbye. So this first page, these are all rock planets. They all have a rocky core. And then these planets are all made up of gas. So they're big because the gas particles separate and fill up all sorts of space. Now this one has rocks and ice that circle it, and so does this one. But their inside core is gas. So these planets would float. And this one's nice and blue because of methane gas. And methane gas is stinky. Yeah. But it's pretty. So we have the rocky planets, which are called the inner planets. And then we have the gas giants because they're huge. And then there's a little guy or gal checking out the telescope. And I'll post a picture of me using the telescope in the comments below. If you have questions about space or the planets, holler. So I just talked through the section. I do want you to go back to 54 and read the pages, because tomorrow we're going to do workbook pages. All right, holler.